Hello guys, and welcome to a new Steel Division video today by me, Vulcan. Today I have for you Cadilakor versus Tarsh in round 4 lower bracket of the 5th Asia Pacific tournament. Today we're going to be seeing Hill 112 and on the Allied side the 15th Infantry Scots, and on the Axis side the 352nd led by Tarsh. Now this is a very classic division matchup, both divisions being in the game since release, but one that is more so than others because it's two infantry divisions that people used to play an awful lot before some of the newer DLC divisions came in. So you've got the 15th Infantry, they have things like Churchill 5s and the AVRE that are especially good for dealing with the IG-18 Pak-38 combination that the 352nd use quite prevalently. However, one thing that Tarsh can do and rely upon is maybe the abundance of Panzerschrecks, but also the Panzerjägers as well. The Panzerjägers can be utilized very well, and we've seen players like APT use smoke to improve their effectiveness, and that's something that Cadilakor might have to be wary of if he's going to rely on Churchill 5s more than an AVRE. But let's take a little look about what's going down. And on the top side at the moment it's just going to be a couple units of rifles, Vickers HMG, MMG carrier with the Recce, some command infantry there, and a Honey going to be joining that lineup. For the mid it's going to be a Churchill 5, 2 units of rifles, and an MMG carrier with the Recon. On the bottom side it's just going to be rifles and a Vickers HMG. Looks like Cadilakor is going to be going for a light defense on the bottom side, more concentration on the high ground, which honestly I quite like, especially considering he will have the range advantage in the early game, at least for Phase A. In Phase B it will sort of equal out. However, Tarsh will gain access to Marders that will be able to start poking the Churchills from range, but the Churchill 7s, for example, will just shrug that off due to their 15 front armor, so maybe that's something that Cadilakor can take advantage of. But at Churchill 5 specifically, why I mentioned that those would be weak against the 352nd, because like a utilization of smoke with the Panzerjäger, which allows the Panzerjäger to get close enough to penetrate a Churchill 5, will then, when the smoke disappears or when the Panzerjäger goes through the smoke, be able to find a penetrating shot, whilst the Churchill 5, yes, it will maybe pin the Panzerjäger after a few shots, but it won't be able to ever really kill it. It won't have much lethality. So that's the beauty of the Panzerjäger compared to the Churchill 5, and something that I was hoping to see was really an AVRE to stop that from happening, because an AVRE can just obliterate any unit really that Tarsh has in the early game, and is something that can really be exploited. Now of course a Panzerschreck might take out the AVRE, but as long as you support it well with infantry, there is almost nothing that the 352nd can do other than spam you with smoke again. Just like smoke the AVRE, just make sure it can't fire at anything, and if it does get close then you ambush it. So that kind of sort of forces your opponent into a very awkward playstyle. Let's have a look at where these units are going. We haven't had a look at Tarsh's units too much, but on this bottom side he does have this command here. He's got a Pak-38 and some Grenadiers in there. He's also got a mortar for the bottom side of the Panzerschreck. For the mid it's going to be Osttruppen and the IG-18 and the Panzerjäger, and on the top side more Osttruppen, the command and the Panzerschreck. On the side of Cadilakor, we already mentioned a lot of his units, but this Honey is going to be pushing to this very top side, and that may give him an advantage if he tries to push for this forest. So if he just spreads out these two infantry, keeps them covered by the command infantry, he can then use the Honey and its 330 cals to pin down enemy infantry as he advances. That would be very nice indeed. Ooh, beautiful kill there from Cadilakor early on. Takes out the Panzerschreck squad first, which is going to allow this MMG carrier a lot of room to kind of start pinning down these units. Now, what Cadilakor needs to be worried about is this AT gun, and I'm not sure he can see it. Maybe he can. He does have the Recce squad there. Let's have a look. We can't see it yet. Oh, okay, just spotted it now. So that MMG carrier will be safe from that Pak 38. In the meantime, he's just going to want to play around that line of sight, kind of like he already was. This Vickers HMG, though, isn't quite in the building, which is interesting. It's kind of just sitting just behind it. And it's trying to take out the Grenadier. Takes it down to one man. But I assume, in the end, they are going to get overrun. That one Vickers HMG dude is going to be taken out. And some ground lost on the bottom side relatively early on. But Cadilakor going to be making a move on this top side. Brings up the rifles. These are 2-star veterancy as well. The rifles do find the Panzerschreck. The Panzerschreck being placed in front of the other infantry is a little bit of a mistake there from Tarsh. And that will basically remove his AT options versus his Honey, therefore allowing the Honey to pin down and take advantage of the Grenadier and the Osttruppen much more so. And with the Grenadier being pinned down first, well, it kind of leaves the Osttruppen in an awkward position because they can get pinned down relatively quickly due to their disheartened trait, and yeah, that's a problem. Panzerjäger is coming in though to supplement on that top side. There's also Panzerjäger coming into the bottom side now as well. New Panzerschreck coming into that top side. FK-18 has been afforded on the bottom here, but is currently artying his own dudes. And probably not the best use of arty ever. Spitfire Mark 9 going to be trying to find that bombing strike onto the Pak 38, of course spotted by the recce here. That's going to be forced to fall back. Not killed off just yet, but might get strafed to death by the Spitfire Mark 9, although Cadilakor are going to be opting to try and take out the FK-18 instead, or at least stop it from firing for the time being, although I wouldn't do that if I were him, since it was hitting his own infantry. Either way, rifles are making some ground. One of the rifles was forced to fall back, but the other rifles here are definitely doing a lot of damage against these Osttruppen, and have almost secured these trees on the top side, so Cadilakor pushing a +1 at the moment. FK-18 is going to be looking to open up again, but the Spitfire Mark 9 coming round for another strafing run. We'll pin that down, prevent it from doing any more damage to Cadilakor's forces. MMG carrier going to be looking for the machine gun on target here, and these MMG carriers can actually be very deadly at close range since they have a relatively high amount of HE. They've got 12 HE there, and they do have the 1-star veterancy. This Panzerjäger could make things difficult, as there's no real AT on the side of Cadilakor that can stop this Panzerjäger from taking advantage. Churchill 5 meanwhile in the mid, it's going to pin down some Osttruppen. This Panzerjäger, it's in quite a nice position up on top of this hill. Maybe Tarsh will be looking for an ambush onto the Churchill 5 as it continues to push up. Like I mentioned previously, Panzerjäger is just reducing the range onto the Churchill 5 is ideal. And one way to do that was with smoke, but it looks like here Tarsh is just going to be trying to use the sort of terrain to his advantage to make that happen. FK-18 opening up once again. Flak filling has been brought into the bottom side to stop anything like that Spitfire from coming in again. Meanwhile, the Grenadiers, though, they're going to be under fire from the Bren gun, but that's not going to make too much difference. But here comes the Spitfire Mark 9 for the pinning shots onto the Pak 38, but with the flak filling in play, not going to allow that Spitfire to come around for a second run, and it doesn't even pin it down in the first. So I think mainly on this top side is where Cadilakor can gain an advantage. If he gets both of these rifles together, it makes a concerted effort towards this tree line. He can definitely then have the Honey nice and close to support that, and that will then basically stop this Panzerjäger from being such a threat, because a Honey should out-aim a Panzerjäger at close range due to this being, of course, self-propelled. So, yeah, the Honey should have the advantage at close range, and that's something that Cadilakor could take advantage of. AT has now arrived on this bottom side, is going to be able to take shots at the Panzerjäger. Tarsh is going to want to get that out of line of sight, but currently just reversing away in a straight line, which is not good. You should always check your line of sight there when you can, because there was a very easy way to avoid those shots just by driving upwards slightly. You can see as soon as he drives upwards, no more line of sight for the 6-pounder, job done. But in this case, remains in line of sight, gets tracked wheel damage. Fortunate enough not to have it killed just yet, but saying that, 6-pounder finds the line of sight once again, and job done. Grenadier only on one man there. I think Cadilakor was just going to try and come in there for a cheeky strafing run, try and take out the unit that's providing the veterancy, it would be very, very smart to do so. Rifles do try and make a little bit of a push, but get repelled. You can see that they are down to 3 men now, as reinforcing infantry has arrived for Tarsh. He's got the Fusiliers in there, he's got the Grenadiers. And these Fusiliers are actually relatively decent at close range. They've got 8 HE between them. They match up evenly to the rifles. Just the rifles, they do have 1 more man when at max strength. The MMG carrier, that's going to be almost popped by the Panzerjäger here. This Churchill 5 has fallen all the way back, assuming that Cadilakor just didn't want to get that ambushed. Well, he brought in the 6-pounder, and that 6-pounder does find the weapon jam onto the Panzerjäger, but moving it back that far is questionable in my opinion. 6-pounder going to be able to cover this road. Oh, almost took out the Grenadiers there. They were unloaded just in time. Meanwhile, though, I like this move from Tarsh, moving the Osttroop and the Fusiliers through the tree lines, just trying to probe in multiple places, find himself an advantage. Meanwhile, the Fusiliers are going to be engaging the rifles. They have taken out the command up here, which is very nice indeed. It's a mistake that I've seen both players make, though. Tarsh was the first to make it, where he allowed his command infantry to be pinned down before both of his Osttroopen. And in this case, Cadilakor allowing his command infantry to be killed before his rifles. It's just really, really bad habit to get into, or just a really bad mistake to make, because now as soon as any of these units get pinned down, especially under like fire support, they just get instantly surrendered, whereas these Fusiliers, for example, will not be, because Tarsh still has his Grenadier alive. Now on this bottom side, some ground is being made, but it is costing Tarsh's infantry some numbers as they continue to do so. What is very important though for Cadilakor is this recce has not been found, but Tarsh may be searching for that. It might have been very smart for Tarsh to like identify where this recon is, because he knows that, like, for example, his FK team was spotted and the Pak 38 before it even fired, so he knows there's some sort of recon here. Because if it was just infantry, the Pak 38 wouldn't have been spotted. So maybe he will find that just because he maybe searches for it. But in this case, Grenadiers are doing quite a lot of damage to the rifles there, but they don't want to be in line of sight of this AVRE when it fires, so you can see them trying to move away, but it looks like one of the squads is going to go down, gets just annihilated there, those 3 men. But Tarsh has done a good job up here of cleaning out the rifles now entirely, and has taken this top side for us. Panzerstreck moving into position, could be a threat for the command carrier, even the Honey. And it's going to put Tarsh in a very nice position moving forwards. But this AVRE is a problem for Tarsh for sure. And if it's utilised well, it could just stop all of these units in its track. The bombing strike there onto the command is really smart. Again, just getting rid of that command allows him to pin down and surrender units with his own units. So yeah, the AVRE probably just going to make a slow attack move towards these buildings whilst more rifles come in and make a front line. We have just moved into phase B though, so maybe we'll start to see some Martyrs arrive, which will allow Tarsh to have something that can ping off these Churchills at range. Also Pak 40s as well, readily available. You can get one in phase A, I believe, but you get more access to them in the later phases. This one going to be looking for the shot onto the MMG carrier there. This Panzerjäger with the weapon jam, that's going to be coming down. I'm not entirely sure if that's going to get fixed up anytime soon. This Panzerjäger though, that's probably going to be looking to get into position to take on the Honey and the command carrier. Spitfire Mark 9, that's going to be looking for the strafing run onto the Pak 40 there as it revealed itself shooting at the carrier. This AVRE just going to be able to pretty much bounce most shots fired at it. This Pak 38 though, finding the crit there with the crew knockout is quite nice. Maybe some smoke would be a good addition for Cadilakor even, just to allow this AVRE to move forwards without being harassed so badly by this Pak 38, because currently this Pak 38 is actually doing a nice job of just keeping that AVRE pinned, and if he shoots at it enough so that it starts to fall back, well, that might expose its side armour and will leave it in a very tough position. So this Pak 38 really showing up right now, and definitely scaring this AVRE. AVRE just not moving at the moment. Did have its driver knocked out for a little while, so that may be as to why. But as you can see, yeah, falling back, showing side armor. Not really where you want to be. Now, the side armor of an AVRE is still 5, but rear armor is not. Can the Pak 38 find the kill? No, it cannot. The 25 pounder saved the day. Wow, okay. That's unfortunate, because that Pak 38 was doing a great job of keeping the AVRE back, and it's not often you see a Pak 38 do that. So, yeah, with that Pak 38 gone, AVRE is good to go, and I'm sure will be fast moving maybe up that road, assisted by rifles as it continues to push. Spitfire Mark 9 coming in with those bombs, again going for the Grenfuhrer kill. This Recce has proved invaluable on this bottom side. It's just, I mentioned before that it was in such a good position, and just continues to be, as it identifies exactly where the command infantry is, takes that out, stops the Starship from being so elite, same with the Grenadiers, leaves the potential for a lot of mass surrenders. Rifles are just returning on return fire in the centre here. I think this is really smart. The rifles are exceptionally good at close range, like compared to Osttruppen and maybe even Aufklärer. So allowing the Aufklärer and the Osttruppen to get close before they fire is really good. However, in this case, the Aufklärer spotted them because they're recon, and the Kubel MG is able to open up at range, which is less than ideal. But Cadilakor should be able to retreat from that sooner than later, and the Churchill 5 is opening up onto those Osttruppen as well, so that's going to help him out. MMG carrier does just rip to shreds an Osttruppen that gets a little bit too close. Meanwhile, on this top side, the Honey has gone down. Command carrier is just taking cover. The Fusiliers, though, are gone, and just in general, I think equal trades up here, other than obviously the Panzer Jaeger being left alive. But the SPW 204 going to be looking for the kill onto that MG carrier there on the second tier of the hill. Meanwhile, on this bottom side, though, things are really building up for Cadilakor. He's even brought in the 140mm off map with this Churchill OP. That may allow him to push all the way through by pinning down any AT that he does come up against. But Marder 2s are on the scene, and if they do get up onto this hill and kill off, say, this Churchill 5, it may pose enough of a threat that Cadilakor will stop his push on the bottom side. This Marder taking shots, the 6-pounder not quite in line of sight, pretty much in range, but maybe this Churchill 5 falling back will eventually put it in line of sight of the Marder 2. So that's an engagement we're going to have to look out for. But meanwhile, on this bottom side, rifles are starting to get aggressive with the AVRE, which is what I like to see. Churchill 5 trying to back off. Honestly, this Marder 2, though, can just keep up with it. And you can see that it is aiming as it goes, and it's going to fire again, as you can see, and eventually gets the kill. 6-pounder is moving in along this tree line, and it looks like there, yeah, the Marder did just get popped by the 6-pounder quickly. Just really, really nice position for that 6-pounder. It's almost in the perfect range to kill things as it comes up this road. And I think in this game and in the last game, we've just seen some really nice placement of units in general. And it's always nice to see. I think it makes up a lot of the Steel Division gameplay. It's just like making sure you have units in the right place at the right time. I guess that goes the same for a lot of strategy games, I guess. AVRE, going to be wrecking that infantry. What else? And then carrying on up this road. I'm not particularly keen on that fast move command, yeah. Glad Cadilakor realised that. He wants to take a wide berth around these trees until he can get his rifles in there to make sure there's no Panzerschrecks to snipe him. But still is getting within that Panzerschreck range, which is always something you want to kind of avoid against divisions you know are going to use them. There are certain divisions you can obviously tell there's going to be a lower frequency of Panzerschrecks, but since the rise of infantry AT, especially in divisions like the 352nd, there's usually quite a high amount of Panzerschrecks around, and therefore you do need to be careful of them. So in this case, making sure your Recce go first, making sure your rifles go first is very important. In this case, he might just be trying to test the waters with the Honey, which is fair enough. Nice hit there, though, with that off-map. Takes out one of the FKs, might even take out the Flak-Verling. Yes, takes out the Flak-Verling as well. Doesn't even leave anything left for his tanks to kill. This Churchill, though, finding the FK-18. There is a Marder 2 down here, but whether or not that's going to be able to prevent this push remains to be seen, because the AVRE could get quite aggressive, honestly. Especially if the Churchill 5 starts fire positioning that Panzerjäger from range, which would be a very nice thing to see. I don't see it too often anymore. It's a tactic that used to be employed an awful lot. People used to play the 15th Infantry Scots against a lot of the 1,200 meter range dominant divisions, just so that they could fire position the Churchill 5 short of things like Marders and pin them, because it's a very easy way of doing so. So he's on the perfect range there for that Churchill 5 to just fire position right next to this, start pinning down the Marder. Then that would allow the AVRE to just get very aggressive and probably just pop the Marder 2 at close range, because it has a lack of armor and is open top. Meanwhile, on this top side, Stosstroop are making some ground. They do take out the command infantry there, which is very important, but these Stosstroop and the 352nd, they do not have AT, so these command carriers don't have to be as worried about that Stosstroop as they would otherwise usually be. Panzerjäger is trying to rush the Churchill 5, probably not going to be able to, especially with the Spitfire Mark 9 coming in with those bombs. The bomb actually hits directly, and that's going to be a kill. The Churchill 5 here, that's going to be engaging the Marder 2. There is also, however, a 17-pounder arriving down here, but not quite unloaded in the best position. You can see that Cadilakor are just going to be attack moving that downwards so that it does get into line of sight sooner than later. But with the Marder 2 falling back, it's not going to find a kill and probably will just end up revealing itself, which is not ideal. But 17-pounder going to be coming into the mid as well. Churchill 5 survived that push on the top side, so that's going to be free to open up onto a lot of this infantry. But Feldpanzer 3 going to be used at close range here, maybe to clean up the command carriers, but the command carrier is currently covered by the 6-pounder. Maybe the smoke of the Stosstroop, though, might help the Panzer 3 just line of sight these command carriers. Yeah, it looks like that's going to be the case. Even with 4 accuracy, the Feldpanzer 3 is going to find the kill at close range. Meanwhile, the Churchill 5 just killing those ersatz very easily. Feldpanzer 3 kills the second command, but the smoke has disappeared, and driver wounded by that 6-pounder means that the Panzer 3 is likely going to go down. One more shot I think that 6-pounder is going to have. Can it find the kill? Yes, it can. Panzer 3 showed side armor, job done. Honey was coming up to clean up as well. Okay, meanwhile on the bottom side, Churchill, this is a very strong push here from Cadilakor, but this Pack 43 is in a good position to get the job done. Okay, so that's one Churchill dealt with. Now he just needs to probably hit this Honey before it gets pinned down by the 30 cals. Ooh, pins it down. Doesn't quite kill it off though. Now he's going to be looking for the kill onto the AVRE. Or maybe he'll just try and finish off the Honey since the AVRE is not in range ready to do any damage just yet. Oh, Focke-Wulf going to be coming in to try and strafe these rifles, get them out of the way. The response of this Pack 43 is absolutely perfect to try and take out the AVRE on this bottom side. We have moved into phase C as well, which means that we might see at this point a Jagdpanther, which would be really, really cool. We don't see Jagdpanthers very often in competitive play, just because they are very expensive. It's almost like King Tigers, right? We barely ever see them in competitive. Quite simply because if you're bringing in a King Tiger, you're probably already winning. And there's always generally better things to spend your cash on, unless you're playing something like the 21st Panzer, which almost relies on those King Tigers moving into phase C. Anyway, Flak 36 has been purchased here by Tarsh on this top side. That's going to help him win this air engagement. You can see that Cadilakor hasn't purchased a single unit of AA yet, and that is going to cost him with this Focke-Wulf versus Spitfire Mark 9 engagement, but I'm not sure the Focke-Wulf's going to have time to take that out, so Cadilakor getting away with that one. There is some AA coming down to the bottom side. It's going to be a Tripolston. Marder 2 going to try and finish off the Churchill 5. The AVRE ended up with a transmission damage before the off-map cleaned up the Pack 43 down here. 17-pounder could probably push into this tree line actually and get a clean line of sight onto that Marder 2, so maybe a bit of a waste letting that Churchill die. But Ju-87 is on the case, and that is going to be nasty. The closer that gets, more of a chance it gets the kill. Oh, nice. The Tripolston actually saving the day there. Well worth investing in that AA. And the Ju-87 probably didn't have much of a chance of penetrating from max range since the AVRE was correctly faced. So a very sort of close game at this point. There is 17 minutes and 40 seconds left on the clock. Cadilakor is in the lead, but only with 356 points. And currently it looks like Tarsh is breaking back in a lot of areas, but losing that infantry is not a good start. But in general has already made quite a lot of ground here. But he lost the Panzerjäger on the top side, probably to the 6-pounder. He lost the Panzer III that we already saw, and he's mostly relying on infantry at the moment, which could leave him in a pretty tough spot. Like, honestly, saving up and using a Jagdpanther might not be a half bad idea, especially for supporting like an infantry push on this tier of the hill, where all these Ersatz and Osttruppen are. Because he could wipe these Churchill 5s from range. He can almost shrug off 17-pounders. He won't have to worry about them as much. It'll give him much more time to sort of react to them. Because 17-pounders are the killer. And probably a reason that you wouldn't bring in Jagdpanthers, since one 17-pounder could just ruin your day. So maybe he'll just continue to try and rely on Mod 2s or maybe just his Air Force a little bit more. But the Air Force availability of the 352nd is lacking, to say the least. We've probably seen like basically his entire Air Force already with the Focke-Wulf 192 star. I think comes one on a card, and same with the Ju-87. So yeah, he's down to infantry engagements with AT guns as his support, and that's quite an easy counter for the Cadilakor, for the 15th Infantry to sort of counter. He can use the 25-pounders, for example, to just pin Pack 40s and any AT guns he comes up against, and then the infantry can be cleaned up easily by Churchills, for example. In this case, this Churchill just going to be hitting the Osttruppen very hard here. Well, actually even firing down onto the Ersatz. Spitfire Mark 9 rather than the 25-pounder used for the Pack 40. I think both of them are. So yeah, even this 2-star Pack 40 generally would be quite a big threat. In this case, easily countered. 6-pounder has been counter-batteried on the top side here. The FK-18 coming in, hitting that 6-pounder quite nicely. But with the Sherman 2s arriving, maybe Cadilakor is going to be trying to force more of a push here, which would be quite nice. These Sherman 2s, they are very cheap. They're 120 points apiece, which is 10 points less than an M4A1. And they're basically the same, right? It's an M4A1. It's called a Sherman 2 because it's under like UK command. So the Sherman 2s coming in, they're nice and cheap. They work well for the income of the 15th Infantry Scots, and you can see just how much damage they do, right, onto these Ersatz and just any infantry in general, because a lot of the infantry that Tarsh will be using doesn't have AT, so they can get very close with those 50 cals and the 30 cals and just rip them to shreds. One thing that they are going to be worried about, though, is a Jagdpanther, and one has finally showed up on the field. He's going to try and avoid that being pinned down by bringing in a mobile wagon, and the mobile wagons of the 352nd are 2-star, so they have the potential to do a lot of damage, especially alongside a Focke-Wulf 190A8. But I don't know if I'm so sure about that moving maybe all the way up to the top tier here to engage the Sherman. I think it puts it in a very bad position and maybe allows it to get ambushed much easier. Like, it would be okay to bring a Jagdpanther to the top if you controlled the entirety of it. But in this case, you're kind of allowing yourself to get closed upon by these tanks. Especially if like more Sherman 2s come in, for example, they could easily sort of push around and go through or sort of sneak up to a Jagdpanther, which would be kind of exposed there. Either way, 25-pounder does come in, finish off the Pack 40. Ju-87 is arriving on this top side. That's going to be looking for the kill onto the Sherman 2. If we can find it, then it's probably going to be trying to come down to Churchill 5. Maybe Tarsh will just be going straight down for that. No, he's going to be turning into this into the Spitfire Mark 9, and that may look like a weird move, but honestly it's the best one, since it basically forces the Spitfire Mark 9 to do a full loop before it gets back onto the Ju-87, so you can see the Ju-87 will survive. It is quite badly damaged though, so that could end up quite bad. Oh, that was quite nice though. Picking up the kill onto that Spitfire with the Focke-Wulf 190A8. Or probably could have gone for a little bit of a retreat there, but going to continue to circle with the Spitfire Mark 9. Might allow Cadilakor to find the kill onto the Focke-Wulf later down the line. Tarsh just needs to try and get that out of that if he can. Maybe if he waits for the mobile wagon to get up, he might be able to start firing onto that in dogfight. Grenadier, though, they're going to be leading the charge against the rifles here as that's still running forwards. Spitfire Mark 9, looks like it dropped the ball. It's going to get taken out by the Focke-Wulf 190 as the Focke-Wulf 190 evacs. 50-50 currently. Cadilakor still with the advantage. I think, honestly, though, Tarsh is going to start to run out of steam. And this Jagdpanther is in a pretty dangerous position. It might be able to pop this Sherman 2. Sherman 2, though, is missed. And Cadilakor should obviously be reversing that, but probably not noticing this engagement right now. Shooter wounded. Sherman 2 is going to be falling back on its own. Will fall out of line of sight as it goes down the hill. But can the Jagdpanther finish it off? It cannot. Oh, that's not good. The Grenadier is like just out of range there of giving that the extra veterancy. That's a shame. Because that most likely would have been a kill if it was 2-star veterancy. But meanwhile in the mid, due to the reliance so much on just infantry advance, and that infantry really not having much substance or fire support, you can see that Cadilakor has kind of broken it down now with the double Churchill 5 and the Stuart Recce, and now his own rifles are able to push forwards and gain ground here. I think he's kind of given up on this bottom side push. However, after killing the Pak-43, maybe that's not the best idea. Like, as soon as that Pak-43 was killed, I reckon it would have been very unlikely, right, in your mind that Tarsh would have brought in the second one. So maybe he had the chance to make some ground there. But yeah, this Jagdpanther, it's in a bit of an odd position. I like that it can obviously fire down onto the next tier quite nicely, but it's putting itself in a position that is very easily sort of flanked. And you can see that actually happening here. Like, Cadilakor is prepared for this Jagdpanther. He's bringing in 2 17-pounders. And these 17-pounders, they cost 120 points apiece, right? Whereas the Jagdpanther is 300 points. So if he pays for 2 17-pounders, but they get the kill onto the Jagdpanther, then that is 100% worth it. Because he's paid 240 points for a 300-point kill. And that's just the trouble with these big point units. And even worse than that, this mobile wagon's going to go down if it's not too careful. 120 points as well. 17-pounder. Gets the transmission damage onto the Jagdpanther. Mobile wagon kind of saving the day there for the time being. But with the Jagdpanther pinned down, well, the Sherman 2 can get aggressive. Get its 50 cows and 30 cows on target of all of this infantry, whilst the Jagdpanther continues to fall back. It's going to be continuing to show its side armor as well to this Sherman as it retreats, and maybe it can find the kill. Spitfire Mark 9 is going to take out the Ju-87. The Churchill 5 here was track wheel destroyed, so that's going to get rid of that. The Stuart Recce did go down in the process. There's still the Churchill 5 up on the hill, although the Stug 3 may finish off that Churchill down below. Oh, the Jagdpanther, I think it did get killed by the Sherman here. I think I missed quite a lot of kills throughout this game, but have identified them later on. Yeah, Sherman 2 definitely found that side shot. And with that happening, and also with the mobile wagon going down to this 17-pounder, well, Tarsh is in a pretty sticky spot right now. Like, I'm not sure if he has a second Jagdpanther on his division, but yeah, he's going to need one at this point if he really wants to push back. But even so, maybe that wouldn't even do the job, because there's a 2-star 17-pounder, and those 2-star 17-pounders are really, really scary. Now, yes, the Churchill 5 got taken out here by the Stug 3Gs, but these Stugs, they just don't really match up too well because they're self-propelled. Like, if you have a unit with high AP that has a turret, it just works so much better. Whereas in this case, You know, they're going to be pushing into what would be Churchill 7s, or in this case, Sherman 2s, and Sherman 2s can definitely sort of take advantage of a Stoke 3 quite nicely by just getting up close and personal. 17-pounder there, going to come in, weapon jam the Stoke 3, that's job done. Tripolston might find itself killed off by the Stoke 3G, but that's probably not going to matter too much. Still a +1 for Cadilakor, still a significant lead at this point. 7 minutes and 40 seconds left on the clock. Tarsh would need a +2, and I don't think he's in a position really to find it, so that's going to be it. Tarsh surrenders, and after 32 minutes and 21 seconds, Cadilakor is victorious. Fantastic job with the 15th Infantry Scots. Was very aware in the late sort of side of phase A that he could use the AVRE to a lot of effect on the bottom side, and kind of broke back the ground that Tarsh had made. So that was very smart. Then Tarsh kind of countered it with the Pak 43, which was a great choice. And I think we just saw two really decent players kind of pushing each other backwards and forwards throughout this match. Unfortunately, the 350 seconds really on the wrong end of the 15th Infantry Scots. It's a very difficult matchup for Tarsh, and you find it so difficult to like deal with the Churchills in general throughout that game, and you saw it really become a problem. Either way, 2,605 kills to 1,640 losses for Cadilakor. In terms of the kills, well, the Grenadiers, they went down to the AVRE. The AVRE not finding too many more support units though. But the Spitfire Mark 9s, they actually did a really nice job. Like bringing in those bombs, strafing units on the ground, really helped out quite a lot. And rather than relying on the much slower 25-pounders, Cadilakor made sure that the Spitfire Mark 9s were on call to get the job done a little bit quicker when he needed something pinned down. And that is the main difference between like an air force and artillery. Like there is like two significantly different doctrines there. And that's something that's quite apparent with, say, the 101st Airborne. You can like rely on their artillery, or you can rely on their aircraft. Aircraft's just a lot quicker, but a lot more higher risk. And then obviously artillery is a lot safer, but is a lot slower. And in this case, sort of Cadilakor just made use of a bit of both to get the job done when and where he needed it. So very nice indeed. 6-pounder taking out Armada 2 there. The Sherman 2 though. Clocking that Jagdpanther. Very, very nice indeed. And the 17-pounder finishing off the Mobilwagen. Probably breaking the back of Tarsh. Couple of nasty kills. Pak 40 early on. I think it could have been earlier. Pak 40 is quite a nice one for taking out those pesky Churchill 5s. If you can get it into an ambushing position and it doesn't get spotted, those Pak 40s can do a lot of damage. The Feldpanzer 3, you can see that was a long way into the game. It found 2 command carriers. Before that, a Honey and a Churchill 5 were the only tanks that went down. And that was well into phase B. The Tarsh struggling in that early game, came back quite hard with the kills onto the aircraft, and the Pak 43 kind of stopped the bottom side push. Stoke 3 came in at the end and did some damage, but the Jagdpanther definitely not doing too well. Unfortunate, but that's how it is. So after that, Cadilakor going to be moving on to the lower bracket round 5 to face off against Eugen, and Tarsh unfortunately leaving us. Really, really nice game. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.